bringing news from a different page. Truth served hot and bold and strong. Every week we sing along. Red, white, and true will stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. Stories that make you think and pray. A light awaits at the end of day. Guided by the stars and stripes, through the stormiest of nights. Red, white, and true will stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. When the world feels like a fight, hold your ground, stand for what's right. In the truth we'll find our way. Ed and Ronnie light the way. Red, white, and true we'll stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. Red, white, and true will stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. Together we find unity.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Red, White, and True with Ed and Ronnie, and the show starts right now.
Hello, everyone. Hey, Ronnie.
Hey, how are we doing tonight?
Well, we got a list. I mean,
Yes.
liberals have lost their minds, and every time they have massive amounts of, well, we'll let you guys decide what to call it after tonight. Every time they do, they give us plenty of good stuff to work with, and
Oh, yes.
so we got plenty. What's going on your end of the world?
Well, today's the first day in about 5 or 6 that I've actually felt like I'm alive and then I can move around. So thank the Lord above for that. So,
Yeah, I mean, every time we talked or seen you for a few days, you kind of look like a walking zombie, and
yeah.
you don't sound like that tonight. You don't look like that tonight, so that's a good thing.
Please forgive me if I go into one of my sneezing fits or coughing fits, but at least it's a lot less than what it was. Like I was telling Mom last night, probably once an hour, I was going anywhere between 4 and 9 times of straight sneezing. So,
Oh my!
yeah.
Well, speaking
This
of
year's
your
been rough. Sorry, this year's been rough. It's been one sickness after another, I swear.
For a lot of people, it
Yeah.
certainly has.
Yeah.
Speaking of your mom, she sent me a video not too long ago, and we usually start off a little bit on the lighthearted, And, I may not have saved it. Shame on me. Well, let's start off something lighthearted.
All right.
You got anything on Texas Do Better, or you got Crockett tonight?
I have Joe Pags talking about Crockett.
That works.
Comedy tour. All right.
I actually have something from him too. I love listening to his voice.
Yeah, he could just read from the phone book. He's got a cool, soothing voice.
Yeah, he sure does.
Yeah. So, all right, I'll play his take on Ms. Crockett.
You have got to see this. The Jasmine Crockett comedy routine continues to travel across the country. That's right. The U.S. representative out of South Dallas continues to just cracking jokes and changing up the cadence of how she speaks. Her accent is a little bit different. And in this one, special edition on this one, she actually denigrates those who are here illegally. She lowers them to only being able to pick the fields. And then she makes some reference to before the Civil War. Again, you got to see this. Make sure you're sharing it. By the way, getting close to a landmark here. Do me a favor. Make sure you follow.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now.
Ain't none of y'all.
Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not.
You're not.
You're not.
You not.
We done picking cotton.
We done.
We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
Yeah, she's a private school kid from St. Louis, $32,000 a year, something like that for her private school. I mean, my kids go to public school. I make a pretty good buck. So she's not somebody who speaks like that. She's not somebody who doesn't have an education, but she's changing her tone and tenor because she thinks she has to speak down to the audience in front of her. And, she hasn't very much regard for those who are here in this country as immigrants because they're out there picking the field, something that we can't go and do. It's all very strange that people keep on lining up to see her. I pray South Dallas gets smart and doesn't reelect her next time. Give me your thoughts about somebody who...
There you go. He said it himself. Do better, Texas.
Do better, Texas. Don't reelect her.
Oh, my gosh.
She's kind of got the Kamala Harris syndrome on where she speaks whatever accent, language, whatever to whoever she's in front of.
And to do that, it's so ridiculous because like with Kamala Harris, she'd be in front of a group of Mexicans and she'd have a Hispanic accent, or she'd be at some inner city school and she'd have this ghetto accent. And that Jasmine Crockett does the same thing. And to me, I don't see how that helps her case at all. It makes you sound ignorant.
Well, and he kind of pointed out as it was going on there, the way she pronounced certain phrases. And I like the way he pointed out too, that she had a $32,000 a year education.
Yeah.
Not in the public schools. Of course, last few days, huge news was what was the title of the protest this weekend?
We were just talking about it. What was it?
Hands-free.
Hands-free or? No, I don't think that was right. We were
hands down.
Hands down.
Hands down. Yeah.
Hands off. Hands off protest. Yep. Hands off protest.
Well, you got a clip. Let's go ahead and look at that, and then let's spend some time talking about these protests.
Well, I got a little bit of a funny one. I don't know exactly where this was, but it caught my eye and I had to laugh. It's real quick.
I think Donald Trump's a racist. Yeah. How so? Because I told you? No. How so? What? The signs say, hands off our science and truth. They don't know what a woman is? That's crazy.
That's but I do have this one is a clip of Indianapolis. This was a protest in Indy, and there were several, but like I was telling you earlier, I couldn't get anything where people weren't cussing, and I mean holding up signs with vulgar sayings on it. It was ridiculous. But that's all that was, is just honking. I don't know what they accomplished with that.
Well, my first question is this: are they willing to do that for 4 years? Because Trump's going to be ticking them off for 4 years.
Oh yeah.
So is that what the plan is? And you see that Bill and Tanya.
Yes, love it.
So, I mean, these were well organized, so well organized that there were places where they actually recruited protesters. And when I say recruited, I mean recruited and paid. We had one of those protests right here in Columbus.
Yes, yes. Bunch of old soggy snowflakes. There was a video I also watched earlier that was saying it was a lesbian woman, and she was talking about how all these protests were predominantly white, predominantly female. And it was kind of funny because she was saying, well, where were their husbands? Well, they were probably at work.
Well, okay, let's dissect that a little bit. First off, it was a Saturday.
Yes, yes.
And second of all, that's what conservatives say.
Well, because every election day, they always say the Democrats are winning until the Republicans get off work.
Yeah, absolutely. And so liberalism 101, one of the things of that is you claim that the other side does, you do what you claim the other side does.
Yeah.
And so they would say that their spouses are out working. Okay.
Yeah. That's from all the pictures around town that I saw. It was predominantly white, predominantly women, definitely a lot of loose screws. I mean, it was raining. Okay, so you're out there protesting in the rain. That's what you want to do. Go ahead, but I don't see what any of that accomplished. Again, it's just misinformation that Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, is taking their couple $1,000s in their bank account or whatever, and that's couldn't be farther from the truth. But
well, I understand that they're working towards having a huge protest in DC. Back in the day, if you remember, there was a group called it wasn't a group. Oh my goodness. They had a rally in DC. It was the Tea Party movement.
Oh, Tea Party. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was at one of the Tea Party rallies that they estimated that there was 1 million people at. And honest, when it was over and everybody was leaving, the place looked just as good as it did when we got there.
Yeah.
Now, if the liberals show up in DC, how do you think that'll turn out? It'll look like a war zone when they leave.
It will. And even then they'll say, well, at least it wasn't January 6th and at least no police officers were killed and no property was damaged, or they'll try and compare it to January 6th as much as possible, I'm sure.
Well, and I think they're always going to compare things to January 6th, and maybe they should, I don't know. But that's going to be one of their standbys, which they've always had many standbys that they can throw up in your face. And speaking of having standbys, I got a couple things that are standbys that, well, I'll just maybe I'll just call this hypocrisy 101.
There we go.
If you're a criminal, you'll be deported. If you plan to enter the U.S. illegally, your chances of getting caught and sent back just went up. What I'm describing is accountability, a common sense middle ground approach. If you meet the criteria, you can come out of the shadows and get right with the law. If you're a criminal, you'll be deported. If you plan to enter the U.S. illegally, your chances of getting caught and sent back just went up. The actions I'm taking are not only lawful, they're the kinds of actions taken by every single Republican president and every single Democratic president for the past half century. And to those members of Congress who question my authority to make our immigration system work better, or question the wisdom of me acting where Congress has failed, I have one answer. Pass a bill. I want to work with both parties to pass a more permanent legislative solution. And the day I sign that bill into law, the actions I take will no longer be necessary. Meanwhile, don't let a disagreement over a single issue be a deal breaker on every issue. That's not how our democracy works. And Congress certainly shouldn't shut down our government again just because we disagree on this.
Well, there was multiple hypocrisy issues in there. Let's go to the last one. We shouldn't let one issue divide us. Well, I guess the funny part of that is in today's world, it's not one issue that divides us, but it's every issue that divides us.
Absolutely.
And so, but let's go back to what that was about. Talking tough on immigration. And you can look back and you can see pretty much every liberal of, the Schumers and the Pelosi's and the Clintons and the Obamas have all been on, let me say it this way, they've been on Trump's side of that equation.
Yep.
Or Trump's been on their side of the equation, just more so. But hypocrisy is flying rampantly among the liberals. I got a couple more. Let's look at Schumer. You'll laugh at how young he is here.
What is your reaction to the immigration policy? Is it enough?
Well, I think it's well balanced in that they understand that there's a need to keep the doors open for people who legitimately deserve asylum, but that the abuses are so large that unless you undergo major changes, you're not going to be able to sustain it. I think there are a few places that they did not speak to, and I am hopeful that they will, or at least Congress will. The worst is what I call the Sheikh Rahman problem, which is someone's in the country illegally. After 6 months of tracking them down, the INS catches up to them, and all of a sudden that person says asylum and gets another 2 years to go through this. That has not been addressed here, and I think that's a major problem. Also, the many levels of appeal that have been built into the process that make it so long and time-consuming that it becomes ridiculous also have not been streamlined. But overall, I think it's a very good, good first step. The problem, our immigration policies are a shambles, plain and simple. And the word has gone out from one corner of the globe to the other that not only is there a legitimate policy, but there's a policy that's wide open to abuse. That's what they're trying to change here. They have a ways to go, but they've made some progress.
With this system.
So, well, first of all, if you didn't hear his voice, you might not even know that was Schumer.
No, I was thinking that video was made in like 1806 or something.
Well, shortly thereafter.
Shortly after.
And you look at some of the things that he called problems are the exact things that Democrats allowed to happen. And it wasn't just the last 4 years. Immigration's been messed up in our entire lifetime.
Yeah.
But he kept throwing things in that later they would be totally open to being supportive of.
That's them, though. I mean, right there.
I think I have another one.
People demand and deserve an active government on their side. But they don't want a government that wastes money, a government that costs more and does less. They voted for change. They wanted a literal revolution in the way government operates, and now you and I must deliver. Yesterday, White House staff that will reduce our staff by 25% and cut costs by $10 million per year. Today, I have called you, the members of the Cabinet, together to take the next step, to begin the overhaul of government as a whole. The steps we're taking today will save the American taxpayers $9 billion.
I think there was a Trump speechwriter that wrote that for him.
I think so too. And if it wasn't him talking, it could have been Trump.
Yeah, I mean, Trump could have read that speech word for word, except, added inflation in. But $9 billion when Clinton was president, that's a bunch of money.
Yeah, back then, absolutely.
$9 billion is a bunch of money today. So that's really been bugging me. It always bugs me, hypocrisy. I don't like hypocrisy. I like calling it out, but it's so blatant anymore.
Absolutely.
It's almost like they look for things to be hypocrites about. And go ahead.
It's the thing is, though, is it's just like a little kid. Little kids do this, they say one thing with this one group of people, but then they say the opposite with this other group of people. They're just trying to either play the devil's advocate, or they're trying to, or they're just lost. They want to play the devil's advocate. They want to be the opposite. Like, okay, so Clinton was talking about, immigration and all that, but the only reason they agreed then, because the D after his name, they were trying to, it gets under my skin because the liberals are supposed to be tolerant and kind and understanding, but they are with everybody who's not a white Christian male. Democracy is being a Democrat is just being a hypocrite all the way around about everything. It's ridiculous.
And we could continue to play. I don't even remember which topic it was, but it was Pelosi just saying the things that we believe. And it's when it's convenient. When they've got the power, they say things that people want to hear, or they have in the past. Now they just say things that you and I are going to disagree with no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, if a Democratic topic, you can just about guarantee almost 100% that you and I are going to disagree with it.
Absolutely. It's crazy, and I've said it a bunch of times, on this show alone, that you have to have the left, the right, you have to have a right and you have to have a left. And that way you've got different points of view. But when your point of view is no matter what, orange man bad, or no matter what, the white Christian male is wrong, that's not a point of view. That's just being a butthead.
Yeah. And that's mild. That's mild.
Yes.
Well, this is a different type of hypocrisy. But this should anger everybody, whether you're on the left or the right. But let's watch this.
Will anybody in the sports media world talk about this? Will any of the Cowboys treat Austin Metcalf the way the Cowboys treated George Floyd, taking a knee all over the place? What's more of a tragedy? George Floyd overdosing on fentanyl under the knee of Derek Chauvin, or this 17-year-old boy, honor roll student, devout Christian, stabbed in the heart at a track meet?
I think we both know the answer. And I think we also know that if roles were reversed, this would absolutely be a more national news story than what it is. For example, I literally Googled Austin Metcalf MSNBC, and MSNBC did not pop up. I did the same thing with CNN. CNN had a story, but they had no pictures. And I can almost guarantee you, if roles were reversed, they would definitely have pictures up. But it doesn't fit their narrative. Yeah, CNN will quietly post about it. MSNBC seems to not even bother. And many on the left will quietly sweep it under the rug. But again, if roles were reversed, there'd be national outrage. They're actually pretty complicit in hiding the reality from people, or working to make sure that you see white on black violence 10 times more than you do black on white violence. It's pretty clearly about pushing their narrative, and their narrative is not helpful to the country. Yeah, I wanted to bring awareness to this so we can start realizing what the media actually is and how they actually do things. And this will help less and less of us fall prey to their manipulation. That's all I got for now. I'll see you guys in the next one.
I watch a lot of his stuff. He's a pretty good guy.
And the topic.
Yeah.
Forget the hypocrisy and all of that. First of all, what a tragedy. It didn't say, and if you follow that story, you know this already, but that boy died in his twin brother's arms.
It's terrible.
The whole thing was over a seat in a tent. And both of them got into an argument. I think there may have been a push involved. I don't think any of that is debatable. But the murderer went and got a knife, came back, and just stabbed him in the heart. And I was talking to your mom about this, and, you know, there's a lot of bad things. There's a lot of racial things, you know. In this situation, I don't care what the white kid did. He didn't deserve to get stabbed in the heart.
No.
You know, I mean, I'm talking about if he had stood there and called the other one the N-word, you know, anything that you can think of bad that the white kid could have done, none of it equals getting stabbed in the heart and dying in your twin brother's arms.
No, absolutely not.
And the thing that really, really gets me is that there is a fundraiser for the murderer. You know, it's not a GoFundMe, I don't think, but it's a similar thing to GoFundMe. And it was up to like $25,000. Now, it should make everybody upset.
Yeah. Should is the key term.
And just as the guy in the video said, had it been the other way around, and it was the white kid that stabbed, and it was the black kid who was dead in his twin brother's arm, we would have had George Floyd type
riots and violence. Yeah, absolutely.
And so, you know, it fits right in with the topic of hypocrisy. And it gets us nowhere as a nation. You know, it's like, it doesn't matter what somebody does that would be considered on the left. You know, this is murder.
Yeah.
Flat out murder, and it's being condoned, or you may be able to just say it's not being condemned, which would be, in my estimation, the same as condoning.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where do you see that? I mean, what do you think?
I think it's a shame. I think it's their continuation of trying to divide us, trying to put everybody into a little box, and separating us. I don't know.
Well, to me, that one is disgusting.
Absolutely.
You know, when you talk politics, and politics has a huge effect on you and I and the whole country and the whole world. but that's way past politics.
Yeah.
And that's life and death. And if the left can't speak out against murder, then what is it that they will speak out against?
They couldn't stand up and clap for a 13-year-old boy who beat brain cancer. You know, I don't know. It makes no sense to me. We're supposed to be a country. We're, you know, my neighbors, my brothers, my sisters, but we're so divided anymore. This country is so divided. Anything on Facebook, even when talking about the floods and all this on Columbus Man, for example, there were people arguing and name calling and stuff like it. This is ridiculous. You know, I don't like it. We should all be working together for a common goal. We're not. We're going backwards.
Yeah, that's a fact right there. We're going backwards on what it takes to be a better country.
Yeah.
I don't know. Go ahead.
The thing that brought this country close together, and it's sad to say, was probably the last time I've seen this country even united, was 9/11, the day after 9/11.
Yeah.
And it took a terrorist attack on our soil, and everybody was, you know, standing next to each other, you know, hands across America, whatever. But ever since then, we've gotten farther and farther and farther apart. Absolutely, Mom. First of all, it shouldn't be a black and white thing. It should be a right and wrong thing. And that's exactly it.
There's just no call for it to be anything other than outrage that a young 17-year-old is not going to live the rest of his life over something so petty.
Yeah.
And, you know, and here's the deal. And I'll look at this from either direction. If it would have been a white on white or a black on black, it probably wouldn't even be a story.
No.
It would have been a story in the local area where that was from.
It'd have been that big in their local paper.
It may have made national news, but it wouldn't make national news day after day after day like this is.
No.
And that just right there speaks to the United States in 2025.
Yeah.
I don't know if you followed a local story. Jim Lucas is a state senator, and he is from Seymour, and he is very, very, very controversial.
Yes.
He, you and I would believe 95+% of the things that he stands for, but he's one of those guys that'll take it right up to the line, and sometimes he crosses the line in the way he's Trumpish in the way he gets things across and all. And so being like that, he has his own group of derangement syndrome. And this gentleman, and I use that term loosely, decided that he would attack Senator Lucas in a Facebook post. Now, the funny thing is, I don't even remember what the post was about, but I put a comment in. I don't comment on his things very much, but it was something so hypocritical, and I put liberalism 101 as a comment. And
do you have a picture of it? I'd love to read it.
Well, let me tell you more, and then I made that comment, liberalism 101, and then a bunch of stuff happened after that. And so he took some screenshots, he being Lucas, took some screenshots, and in one of the screenshots right below what I said, and it wasn't in response to me, but the screenshots get what I said, liberalism 101, and then it starts in on what this guy made legitimate death threats. I mean, he said, I'm looking forward to reading your name in the obituary. And he said, and I don't even remember the worst of the ones he said. He said, you know, I'm going to meet you face to face someday, and it's not going to turn out good for you. And that's just two of the mild ones. I can't even think of the ones that he said that were so bad, because if you go back to that post, the things that the liberal guy said have been deleted. But here's the situation. Everybody seemed to be encouraging Lucas to report that to the police, and they did, or he did, and actually the Indiana State Police arrested the man, and he has been charged on 4 counts of intimidation of a public servant.
Wow.
So, first of all, Bill and Tanya says he's iffy, and yes, he is.
Yeah, I can't agree more with that. It's,
but and then they say, I think he gets lots of threats. He does stand up for stuff in Seymour, and people don't like it. But there's a point where you can't do that, and that's making. Like I say, I can't remember the exact wording, and I went back to get it, and those are deleted. If you were to look him up, and it shows screenshots, but the screenshots are mild.
Oh, it's edited.
Yeah.
Censored.
They, you can see that that's what they're talking about. There are comments about, isn't that a legitimate threat, or you need to report that to the police? And so you kind of get bits and pieces of what it was about.
Yeah.
But I think that's what it's going to take to get things. I mean, I don't even know how. It's going to take that to stop some of the shenanigans that are going on in the world right now. The firebombing the Tesla dealerships, and
that was a big story today too. There was one that did some damage.
No, I missed that one.
Yeah, it was on one of the guys I watch. It's called Agenda Free TV on YouTube, and he tries to be. He's very unpartisan. When the elections was going on, he was showing Republican and Democrat, and people were complaining, well, you're showing more Donald Trump stuff than you are Kamala Harris. He said, because Donald Trump does more, which obviously, but they were covering the press briefing and the Trump tariffs that go into effect at 12:01 a.m. tonight. But they were showing pictures of it, and people were getting mad at him because he said it was how did he put it? It was a Tesla dealership or Tesla charging station explosion. And then people were upset because they were calling it domestic terrorism. And then the left got upset. It was pretty funny to watch, but nevertheless, it happened today. I don't remember exactly where, but it was pretty bad.
Well, let's look at a couple videos. The first one is a lady exposing how some Congress critters end up with lots of extra money in their pocket. And then we'll go after that with the MAGA Minute from the White House secretary or press secretary.
The Doge Report, how they steal our tax dollars to line their pockets via nonprofits, non-government organizations, also known as NGOs, and government contracts. I've got 2 examples for you. Now, mind you, this is only 2 of the probably hundreds, but here we go. We'll get into it. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse is under a little hot seat right now because he backed the legislation that approved $14.2 million to go to Ocean Conservatory. It was a nonprofit for cleaning up the beaches. Guess who the main runner in that company was? Oh, his wife. She got $2.7 million of that amount. So he approved that this company got the contract, and his wife is the main chick. That's how they steal your money. Okay. Next one. There is an empty facility in Pecos, Texas. It is called Family Endeavors. It was meant for overflow of immigrant children who came across the borders without parental guidance, without a parent attached or a responsible adult. And so it was to be for overflow, so it was operationally ready, but it was empty since 2021. And since 2021, we have been paying $18 million a month. $18 million a month to an empty facility so that they could be ready just in case. Now, fun little fact. Who do you think was on that board? Oh, that's right. One of Biden's transition team members. This part is my opinion only. From this point on, everything I've told you so far is facts. You can go look it up online. This is my opinion only. I call that a payoff. I call that, hey, you probably saw a lot inside the office, and I need you to keep our secrets, and I'm going to make sure you're well taken care of at the tune of $18 million a month, my friend. And that's what he did. He went open this Family Endeavors, and it remained empty since 2021, and they took $18 million of our money every month to keep it open. That is how they steal from you. That is today's Doge Report. Stick around for more.
Wow.
Let's go from there to
It was
here.
another very busy week. There were some historic announcements, so let's roll through it for the MAGA Minute. This week, Vice President J.D. Vance and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz took a trip to Greenland to reaffirm the United States' support for the territory. The president signed an executive order to eliminate predatory ticket resellers from the live entertainment market, which will put entertainment consumers first. And he was there with the one and only Kid Rock. The president signed an executive order to establish an investment accelerator to bring in more investments here in the United States. And Liberation Day arrived, with President Trump implementing a 10% global tariff and additional reciprocal tariffs on countries around the world who have been ripping off the United States of America and our workforce. The president sent a very strong message that Americans will no longer be taken advantage of by globalist trade policies. It's the golden rule for the golden age of American economic prosperity. We will see you for next week's MAGA Minute.
I love her to death.
Yes, she is wonderful, and I know you got something of hers.
I do.
Right here in just a second. Let's go to the first video. We should have just named tonight hypocrisy, because you look at what, and I know you had to step away for a second, so I don't know if you heard everything that lady was saying. A congressman helped fund a situation, and his wife was the chief person of that organization, and she ended up with $2.7 million.
Yeah, I actually watched that video a couple days ago. It's kind of funny how that works out, you know, that he pushed for his wife to become a millionaire. Kind of funny there.
And funded it.
Yeah, funded it. Yeah. And
well, actually, we funded it.
Well, yeah, out of our paychecks, but that's why everybody hates Elon Musk. For some reason, the Democrats don't see it that way. The ones, the soggy snowflakes out there protesting around in the mud and the rain, they think that Elon Musk is taking away our money. Well, no, he's not. He's trying to stop fraud. And to me, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you sit on. What difference does it make? He's trying to stop fraud. You would think that you would support that, but they're not.
Sorry about that. I got a message that I needed to reply to.
No worries, no worries.
That's the case. I mean, why would Musk be the bad guy for catching something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Why? It doesn't make any sense to me. But I did just get a notification too, and this is a little off topic. Judge orders White House to restore Associated Press access after the Gulf of America dispute. Have you heard about that?
I'm not actually. I wasn't paying attention. I got a situation that may require my attention.
I'm sorry. Apparently a few weeks ago or something, or a month or two, whatever it was, but the White House actually kicked out the Associated Press because the Associated Press refused to call it the Gulf of America. It was the Gulf of Mexico. So the White House basically kicked them out of, they can be in the press briefing room, but they can't be in the Oval Office or on Air Force One. Associated Press sued, and it just came out just now that the judge ordered the White House to restore the Associated Press's access. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but it is what it is.
Well, so is that judge going to take up for conservative sites that aren't in that? What? They didn't get dropped from being able to cover things. They just aren't in that inner circle that like get to go into the Oval Office. You know, only so many reporters make it into the Oval Office. Only so many reporters can make it onto Air Force One.
Yeah.
And so it's not like they were shut out. They're just not part of, but there are liberal sources that are part of that so-called inner circle.
Yes.
And so
to me, it's all a waste of time and energy and money. It's ridiculous.
And a distraction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Huge distraction. So well, we need to laugh. So I'll let you deal with your thing real quick. And I wanted to share with everybody that tonight's episode of Red, White, and True is actually we've got our first sponsor, so we're actually sponsored, and I'd like to show everybody the commercial here for our partnership.
Jones Barbecue and Foot Massage. 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 You can be my new thing. Jones Barbecue and Foot Massage. Jones Barbecue and Foot Massage. Jones Barbecue and Foot Massage. Barbecue and Foot Massage.
So thank you very much for our paid promotion of Jones Barbecue and Foot Massage. Wherever you are, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I wanted to I've got several things that I wanted to get in that I'm not going to be able to because I'm going to need to leave. But I did want to get my Reagan moment in.
Yes,
absolutely. We don't have inflation because the people are living too well. We have inflation because the government is living too well. And the last statement, just a few days ago, was a speech to the effect that we have inflation because government revenues have not kept pace with government spending. I see my time is running out here. I'll have to get this down very fast. Yes, you can lick inflation by increasing productivity and by decreasing the cost of government to the place that we have balanced budgets and are no longer grinding out printing press money, flooding the market with it because the government is spending more than it takes in.
Wow. Wow.
I know your mom's watching. I'll text you in just a second on why I have to go.
Yeah, she's watching. Love you too, Mama.
This is a 3-minute video I'm going to put on, and I'll let you comment on it when it's over.
Okay.
Trump gets through eating, and you've seen him do this move right here.
Yeah.
And then wherever in the big boardroom he does this. Okay, that's what he does. He goes, "Can I ask you a question, John Rich?" He never calls me John. John Rich. I look at him, I go, "Yes, sir. What's the question?" He goes, "Well, you do a lot of big shows. Like, you're an entertainer." "Yes, sir." you play for really big crowds? I go, I do. I play for really big crowds for a long time. He goes, well, have you seen these rallies I'm doing? Like it's 30, 40,000 people. I said, yeah, it's unbelievable. He goes, so here's the question. Why are people booing me at my rallies when I bring up the vaccine? This is the question from the President of the United States. A guy who is very proud at that moment of the fact that he was able to stomp the gas pedal and get that thing out because he's under the impression this is going to fix the problem.
Operation Warp Speed.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a guy who, to his own admission, one of the biggest egos on the earth.
Yeah.
And he's very proud of this. And I respect him to, there is no limit.
Right.
But I'm being asked a very direct question. And so, man, I looked at him and I said, okay, I'm going to tell you the answer and you're not going to like it. He goes, okay, what's the answer? You're going to look at me like this? I said, let me start off by saying this. We, the American people, do not trust the people that you were forced to trust at the time when this was happening. Let's start there. And I said, by the people we don't trust, here's who I mean. The FDA, the CDC, the NIH, the WHO, Fauci, and all the rest of them. I said, Mr. President, we consider them to be a bunch of murderous, depopulationist psychopaths.
And his reaction was...
That's a good way to start.
His eyes are, he goes, unbelievable. Unbelievable. He's stunned. No, he is stunned that I said that. I said, now, let me tell you why they're booing you. I said, because all of them, including me, I said, I would boo you. I would boo you.
Did you really?
You did not. I would boo you.
Really?
If you brought that up, and here's why. And he's looking at me, and I'm thinking to myself, this is the last time this guy's going to invite me to anything.
Yeah.
He's never going to call me again. I'm throwing massive shade on a former president's, in his mind, one of his biggest accomplishments. And it dawned on me, nobody had told the man what I was telling him right now, because they all work for him. They all got something to gain from him.
Yes,
they're not going to tell him this because they're not serving him well. I don't work for him. And I think a lot of him. And I want.
Where'd I go? Well, there I am. Oh, there's half of me. Huh. There we go. All right. Sorry. So, you know, like you said in that video, the Operation Warp Speed and stuff like that, that was great. I think at that point in time, people were so sick and tired of COVID and all this. And I know I was. A lot of people were buying into this huge, massive virus that's wiping out thousands of people a day. Suddenly they have a vaccine that quickly, you know. And I was just telling Ash yesterday, it's like, you know, COVID happens, it spreads over the world, they cure it, or they have a vaccine for it. But I was down for 4 days with a common cold. They can't come up with a cure for that. But at least this guy had the cojones to stand up and tell Donald Trump what he thought and the truth. So great job for him. Now I've got a video. I'm not going to play all of it. It's satire, so it's not true. Just going to point that out there. But it was actually sent to me from a good friend, Troy. Thank you very much. I'm going to pull it up now. I thought it was too good to let slide. We gotta share it.
Hi, I'm Corporal Henry Thomas III. I fought for the Union during the War of Rebellion, volunteered in September 1862, was honorably discharged 65, and Elon Musk is taking away my Social Security. Fought in Chancellorsville, Gettysburg. Saw some action during the siege of Petersburg as rebel artillery fire exploded all around, and I watched as my brothers died by my side. I never thought the thanks I would get would come in the form of some billionaire oligarch deciding I don't deserve my benefits. It's hard, going to the skeleton wife and skeleton kids and telling them I don't know where the next meal is coming from. If I ever meet this Elon Musk fella, well, I got a real bone to pick with him. Oh, a bone.
Sorry, I thought Troy sent that to me yesterday, a couple days ago. I thought it was hilarious. I just wanted to share it with everybody. It's playing on, they're finding that we're paying Social Security benefits for people that are 200-300 years old. It's ridiculous. But get rid of Elon, I guess. I do have a video here. We were talking about Caroline Leavitt earlier, and I'd like to share this one.
Let's act like adults here. They are generously offering their time to answer your questions. You don't need to scream at them like a bunch of school children.
My advice to that unnamed low-level French politician would be that it's only because of the United States of America that the French are not speaking German right now.
Numbers, how many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
Is there any evidence on that he wasn't aware of it?
You're a reporter, you should find out.
Have you ever paid a tariff? Because I have.
I think it's insulting that you are trying to test my knowledge of economics and the decisions that this president has made.
That team prayer before is just a moment to be silent and still and ask God for confidence and the ability to articulate my words, knowledge, prayer, protection. And it is a nice moment to reset. It's the last thing I do before I go out there, and then it just gives me the confidence.
I love her to death, and just right there, her talking about how she prays before she goes out there. That's something that when I saw that video originally, it's like, wow, she prays before doing her job, and maybe that's something that we could all do is pray before going to do our job. I've never thought of it. I've never, frankly, to be honest with you, I'm more concerned with getting as much coffee and nicotine in me that I can before I have to go into that building. And maybe I should just say a prayer and say thanks for, number one, giving me a job, and number two, asking God to keep me safe, But Caroline Leavitt, you gotta love her. I don't think I've ever heard one thing come out of her mouth that's kind of like, or I didn't like. I love that woman. She's doing a great job. And I've got another video. It's kind of satire. I hope you'll enjoy it. I thought it was funny.
Your word is woman.
Woman. Can I have the definition, please?
No.
Why not?
The thing is, a woman is a woman is
what she's trying to say is that each person gets to define for themselves what a woman is.
So can you define it?
No.
Why? I just want to know the definition of woman.
And that makes you a hateful little bigot, Lincoln.
I don't hate anybody.
Listen, you intolerant little bigot, just spell the word so we can get a girl up here to win this whole thing.
The definition of woman is woman.
That doesn't make any sense.
It's a simple word. We all know what a woman is. Just spell woman.
Woman. W-O-M-A-N. Woman.
Wrong! It's got an X in it now for some reason. W-O-M-X-N. Now get out of here!
Talking about the hypocrisy of the left, they can't define a woman. I shared a video last week of in the Oval Office. They asked President Trump to define a woman. That's it's great. So, also on the topic of hypocrisy, since we did not plan this out, but apparently that's what we're doing tonight. Here is Sean Hannity talking about liberal hypocrisy.
They found a woman who said she supports immigration, and they put her beliefs to the ultimate test. Watch this.
So you would do anything for like all the illegals
I think
and
we
stuff?
have to be fair.
Guys, this is great. I think we found a new home for you guys.
What guys?
There you go.
Is that your bus?
Yeah.
I don't understand what this is all
Well, this is all the immigration. They're going to move into your house.
They are
Yeah.
not.
What do you mean? You just said you wanted to support everyone though.
Okay, that I don't.
No, they're
Guys,
not
we
violent.
got a
They're
new
not
house.
violent. They're good. They're
Oh no,
like
hop
fast.
it! Just like you guys did before.
Thank you very much.
Can they stay for dinner? Wait.
Sorry.
Well, we have your signature. You guys got to drive back down south.
Back to Home Depot.
Funniest part, he goes, well, can they at least stay for dinner?
That's liberal hypocrisy, you know. She supports illegal immigrants, but will not support them staying in her home or staying there for dinner. Gotta love it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a great rest of your evening. I'm going to say a little prayer here real quick. Don't know what Ed's dealing with. Hopefully it's nothing. So let's go to the Lord. Dear Heavenly Father, we appreciate everything you do for us. Thank you for this life that you've given us. Some days are hard, some days are easy, but it doesn't matter because in the end, we're all going to come see you face to face, and every day is going to be easy. Every day is going to be amazing. We thank you for that. Thank you for all our blessings. Thank you for everything that you've given us. Lord, whatever situation that Pastor Ed is dealing with, please be with him. Please be with everyone involved. And just wrap your hands around them and let them feel your presence. Thank you for this platform that I've been given. Thank you for the opportunity to sit here and pass on some knowledge and pass on some jokes and have a good time with such good people. I appreciate everything you do for us. In your name I pray. Amen. So I guess Pastor Ed's not coming back, and that's perfectly fine. It's 8:00. We may come back tomorrow. I don't know. We may come back Thursday. We'll figure it out. So thank you very much for being here. Please stay safe, and don't forget to go out and do the right thing. Good night, everybody.